So lawyers are funny. And I don't mean they're like ha-ha funny. I mean, some are, but a lot of lawyers are not very funny. But they are funny in a different sense, which is we have this definitive agreement. And as I've told you before, that can often run on for as many as 100 or more pages. And it's a big agreement. And within that agreement, lawyers have a whole section called covenants. Covenants are just agreements of the party. So within the agreement, they have a whole section on agreements. And I think that's funny because the whole thing is an agreement. But what do lawyers put in this special section of the agreement that's all about agreements? And these covenants typically fall into two categories. One is agreements about the relationship with the parties between the time the deal is signed and closing. So if there's a gap between signing and closing, we have to somehow moderate the relationship between the parties. So an example of this would be access to the seller's properties and personnel during that time period. And the covenants would govern that relationship. The other type of covenant that the parties will typically have governs the relationship between them after the closing. And so a typical covenant in that kind of time period would be, say, access to financial information, because the seller, having given up control of the company, no longer has that information, but might want access to it for preparation of tax returns or to evaluate performance under an earnout and the like. And so you'll have a covenant dealing with that. I'm going to spend some time in some future videos talking about some of the specific covenants that show up in this section and what you ought to look out for.